Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Jet2 Guide video. Today we are looking at how to fly the Aerosoft Airbus. So I've been flying this for about 2 years now, and I have a bit of kind of a rough understanding how it works, and I thought I'd just share my knowledge with you. So this tutorial is going to be quite a basic one, and it's for the real beginners who don't know a lot about the aircraft, and it will basically get you in the air. I'm not going to be explaining each system in depth, but as I said, it will get you in the air. So, we're at Alicante here, and I'm in a Aerosoft Airbus A319, and I'm parked at stand 33. So let's get into the cockpit, and yep, this is the Airbus cockpit, same across the A318 to the A321. Aerosoft have done a very nice job of modelling the cockpit. Compared to the real ones, it does look very good, and the ones I've sat in, yeah, it looks all pretty similar, and yeah, it looks pretty darn good. So, first thing we're gonna do is you're gonna get your batteries turned on, and they're up here. So you have battery 1, battery 2. Turn that on. A few lights are gonna turn on, but just ignore this for now. And they might say fault on. That's just the generators. When they're off, it's gonna default to fault mode. Packs, when they're off, they're going to be in default mode. So, sorry, if I turn them off, they're automatically on. But because there's no power providing the generators, it's saying there's a fault. But that's nothing to worry about. Those 4 lights are completely normal. Then what you're going to do is you're going to get some external power turned on. And that is out here. So if I go outside, there should be a little, well, there is external power unit which is connected to the aircraft, and that provides APU power essentially. All it doesn't provide is bleed air. So what the APU is the auxiliary power unit, and it's like a small engine in the back of the aircraft which provides the aircraft with bleed air, which is high compressed air used to start the engines, air conditioning, and just general power used for the powering systems. Everything can be replicated that an APU does with an external power unit, however, it cannot provide bleed air. If your APU fails, you can get air start units, I think they're called, and you can start your engines like that. That's not modelled, just the external power units and the auxiliary power units in the Aerosoft Airbus. So, that's that out of the way. What you're going to do now is turn on your nav and logo lights to System 1. That indicates pilots are in the cockpit. Then you're going to turn in your seatbelt signs and your no portable electronic devices to on. Then you get emergency lights on, and then you're going to turn your fuel pumps on. So turn all of them on, even the centre ones. Even if you don't have centre fuel, it still lights them on. If it needs to do X feed, which is basically if something happens with a tank and one's low, you can cross feed fuel. So if you know a little bit about Boeing, they have a cross-feed system. X-feed's similar. If you turn it on, it will start balancing out fuel, etc. And yeah. So crew oxygen supply, you can turn that on, and everything's looking okay at the minute. Right, so you've got your lights on, you got your fuel pumps on, you're good. Next thing you're going to do is turn on your lower display and your upper display for your ECAMs. I think ECAM stands for Electronically Controlled Aircraft Monitoring System. And yeah, so there's you've got displays which you can control the lower ECAM via these buttons on the bottom. So you can switch between engine page, bleed air page, pressure page, electronic page, hydraulic page, etc. And you're going to turn. Now, once you turn the ECAMs on, you're going to get your PFD and MD on. ND, sorry. So you've got your navigational display and your weather radar. So the smaller knob is your weather radar. The larger knob is the weather radar, and the smaller knob is the screen brightness. So you can adjust that to your liking, and you've got the primary flight display here, displaying altitude, pitch, speed, heading, etc. And what you're going to do now is you're going to get your IRSs aligned. So, what are IRSs? Well, IRSs are basically they allow you to get the aircraft to find the GPS position. I'm not exactly too sure what it stands for, but you get 3 on an aircraft. They're positioned, I think, on the left wing, on the right wing, and in the tail. I think I'll probably have to check. That's probably wrong, but I think it's 3 backup systems. They operate independent of one another, so if one fails, you can still have a GPS signal. So here we go. Set to nav. You set system 1 to nav first, RS number 2 nav second, and IR3 nav third. Then you get your standby radios turned on up there, and you are going to get your radios turned on down here. So if you're on a proper network like VATSIM, you would tune into ground frequency, and you'll put your squawk code in here. Now I'm not going to bother with that today because I'm not on VATSIM and I don't do VATSIM, but that's just for your information. There's plenty of tutorials on how to use VATSIM out there. So, right, as you can see here, IR in a line 5 minutes. Now, what this is here is this basically tells you all your information that you're gonna need. So it's kind of like a mini checklist. If you have engine failures, this is what comes up. This is like your checklist, basically. And it says important information like it's telling you your seatbelt signs are on, no portable devices are on, and IR in a line 4 min. Basically, the RSs are aligning within 4 minutes. So, nothing's going to happen to these screens. It will still say heading map not available until you program the MCDU. So, I'm just going to switch out and get the weather data loaded, and then I'll come back. I just wanted to check the weather data, and everything is fine. I was just making sure because I just wanted to check the updated meta was coming through, just anything strange on it. And that's something I'll talk about a little bit later. You shouldn't genuinely need to worry about meta. Can get quite complicated, especially when you're looking at meteorology, like the upper level significant weather charts, jet streams, how that impacts the aircraft, crosswind, stuff like that. Not going to talk about that today a lot, but I will show you a little bits and bobs. So once we're down here now, so I've come to the MCDU, and now the MCDU is the multi-crew display unit. I think that's what it stands for. Multi-computer, multi-display. It's one of them. Can I remember? MCDU. Multi-functional control and display unit. Just looks it up. Yeah. Oh, it's close. But yeah. So we go into FMGS, FMGC, and we go to initial referencing page, and we're going to type in our iCal codes. So to plan a route, we're going to use SimBrief, and we've used Projects Fly to export that route to the Aerosoft Airbus folder. We can load it in. I'll show you that here. So we're in Projects Fly, and we're going to click Export, select one, Aerosoft Airbus, Export, Lille to Gatwick, and we'll click Fly Now. Then we'll click on Flight Briefing, and we've got our operational flight plan. So you will need to know how to read parts of this. The most important thing is probably the actual flight plan. Now I've also got this loaded into a program called Navgraph Charts, which uses real life flight data to give realistic planning, basically, and it gives a nice visual representation of what the charts look like. So I'll look at the departure out of Alicante here, and when you're doing a departure in an Airbus and just general commercial aircraft, it's called SID, Standard Instrument Departure, and that's when you're flying IFR conditions. You're never normally flying VFR. You're always flying IFR if you're on radio. Basically, it's any commercial aircraft. So we're going to do a 28 departure on runway 28, and it's as loaded up my route, so I need to reload the route. Sorry. New flight from SimBrief. There you go. Let's reloaded it, and yeah, okay. So we're still doing a departure out of 28, and we can actually see where we're going to be flying. So this is our standard instrument departure here. This section here, and that is the SID of Mitos to Charlie. So that's just the standard instrument departure. So now we've got it exported, we can go back into the Aerosoft Airbus here, and we're going to enter our ICAO codes. Now ICAO codes are codes shortlisted for airports basically, and there's an ICAO, I think it's called a dictionary, but it basically means, let's say there's a complicated Chinese airport name, like I'm not going to say anything, but like one you can't understand or one you can't pronounce easily, you would just say the 4-letter code. I don't know, VHH, Hong Kong, but not a good example. Anyway, it's just used to simplify airport terms, like Gatwick is London LGW. It's also referred to as Echo Golf Kilo Kilo, etc. So we've got Lima Echo Alpha Lima for Alicante. You're going to put a /, and then you put Echo Golf Kilo Kilo for London Gatwick, and you're going to click this right button here next to from/2, and it's going to appear with your route if you have exported it. If you haven't exported a route, it's going to come up with nothing, and you're going to have to enter the waypoints and airways yourself. I might show you how to do that, probably not, because I've already got a route here, but another day I might show you. It's very easy. It just takes a little bit longer, and yeah. So once you've got the route loaded in here, you're going to click insert, and it's going to actually load in the route into the MCDU. So IRS initialize is the second part you're going to do. You can click that. It's going to come up with GPS waypoint, GPS longitude and latitude points, and and it's aligned itself. So I automatically did that. I did not know that. I learned something new. I always thought you had to click RS 9. Yeah, so I just learned something. Yeah, that's cool. Right, so I guess it automatically aligned itself. That's cool. And now we're going to enter our flight number, but basically it would say confirm align RS, something like that, and you just click OK, and it aligns it immediately. So flight number can be found in Project Fly. So if you go to here, we are uniform 28662. So just enter that here, uniform 28662. Uniform 2 is EasyJet's, I don't know what to call it, like flight reference code thing. Like BAW is just BA. I don't know what they call it, just a two-letter thing. But something like that. Anyway, that's our flight number. Now, cost index. I'm not entirely confident on what cost index is. I know it affects the performance of the aircraft and how efficient you use your fuel during the flight. It ranges between 0 and 99, I believe, or 999. I think, I don't know, but I just use 55. I don't know why. I've just chosen 55, and everything's gone smoothly. Right, now you're moving down. You're gonna get your cruise altitude /temperature, cruise temperature. Now, this is the altitude that your aircraft will be, once you stick the autopilot on, will be programmed to fly at. You have to enter it into the autopilot panel as well, but this basically is needed to calculate where your top of climb is and where your top of descent is. Those are the two waypoints where your aircraft reaches top of climb and needs to start descending at top of descent. So, cruising altitude can be found in the operational flight plan, and it is found at the top here. So, 36,000 feet. If you had step climbs, I'm not going to worry about that today, but they basically, this is on long haul flights with the 777. I'm not going to even talk about it. Anyway, so I'm going to enter that altitude in there of 360. That means 36,000 feet, or flight level 360. Here to say it. And we have an outside air temperature at that altitude of minus 57 degrees Celsius. So you're going to go across to the next page, and you're going to enter your 0 fuel weight and 0 fuel weight CG, centre of gravity, and your block fuel. Now that's all going to enter automatically here. I've already loaded up the fuel into the aircraft as seen here. So you can use the load sheet which comes from the load fuel planner, which comes with the Aerosoft Airbus. Here you simply just enter your departure ICAO and your arrival ICAO, your aircraft type and the number of passengers you want, and it will give you fuel. Click generate load sheet and then you click load sheet by pressing shift F4 to load it up, and that's how you load from the load sheet. And that's got all my passenger data, all my cargo data, fuel data, central gravity data, trim data. It's got everything you need to be configured basically. So I'm going to use now GFX to request boarding. And let's get people boarded. So let's close that and let's head back to the MCDU. So what this data is needed for is it needed to calculate V-speeds. Now V-speeds are called V reference speeds, and what they are speeds that you need to take off. So they're calculated and they depend on your weights, you're on your runway length and engine power. Not engine power. And what they provide is the main ones are VR, V1, VR and V2. Now V1 is a speed which if you surpass you cannot abort the takeoff, you are taking off no matter what. If you're below V1 you can abort the takeoff. Once you reach VR, that means V rotate speed, that's the speed where you rotate the aircraft, and V2 is the speed where you're stabilised in the climb, and that is just after VR basically. It's probably about 5 or 6 knots afterwards. And I'll talk to you about that on takeoff because it can happen quite quick. So that's what these also what it's used for is the block fuel especially is used to calculate if you've got one, enough fuel for the journey, which you should have planned already, and 2, how much reserve fuel you've got. So if you need to put in diversions, it can tell you how much fuel very accurately you'll arrive at on the airport, at the diverted airport, etc. But don't need to worry too much about this page. Just enter those 2 items and you're good to go. Right, that's pretty much all of it done. All you need to go to now is flight plan, check the standard instrument departure has been entered by going to flight plan, clicking the left button on little runway 10, clicking departure, runway 10. Now if you click the right arrow, it will show you the seats available, and it's not actually selecting my SID, so I'll just go do that now. I think I was Mitos to C, to Charlie, but I'll go to Alpha. It's not really any different. Insert that. Now it's a standing departure inserted, and there shouldn't be any flight plan discontinuities. Yeah, that looks good. So I'll sort out 26 left when it comes to it, and I've just realised I need to turn down my GSX volume because that's quite loud. So there you go, that's muted now. And I've got a flight plan discontinuity. There's always going to be one there when you're entering your flight plan, and that's between the first waypoint and your last waypoint and your arrival runway. So to get rid of that, you're going to need to program a standard arrival route, and what that is it's your route taking from your last waypoint to the runway basically, and this can also be found on your flight plan. So if you go to your operational flight plan here and look at the last string of text before Gatwick, you'll get your standard standard arrival route, standard terminal arrival route I should say, and that is VASC UX1 Golf. So we can enter that by going to Gatwick 26 left, arrival, VASC 1G, entering our runway we're arriving on today. I think it's 26 left. Yep, it is. And the star's already been entered. So if not, we can just select it from the list here. So you can enter any star you want, and you start this on your operational flight plan, of course, and you can click insert. Now, that will do some recalculations for speed, altitude, what height you have to start at, what start descent at, etc. What speeds, what times you should be at all different waypoints. It does it all automatically. The one thing you will need to probably do is click clear, then click where it says flight plan discontinuity, click the left button, click insert, and that will connect up the whole flight plan. If you don't do that, your aircraft will essentially just keep flying on the same heading that the last waypoint was. I think that's voice crack, yeah. The last waypoint was, as it's basically a break in the road. That's what the aircraft sees it as. Doesn't see it as just a jump over, hop to the next waypoint. Yeah. So that's our flight plan entered here. And now once we've done that, we check there's no more discontinuities. There's one at the bottom. That's after we've ended our flight plan. So that is fine. Come back up to the top. And we are good. Yep. Good. Right, then we're going to go to the perf page. Now the perf page tells us our V-speeds. So to get our V-speeds, we're going to enter our flaps. Now we usually use flaps 1 or flaps 2 for shorter runways, but I'm going to just be using flaps 1 today, as Alicante is nice and long. So we've got our VR speed there. Is the same. V1 speed is the same as VR. In real life that would not be the case. So I'll just make it more realistic. I'll just put it down to 132. So it gives us 7 knots of decision speed. If you want to abort the takeoff, it'll probably be even lower than that in real life. Anyway, pardon me. And that is it. That is our programming of the MCDU done. So I'll just explain a little bit more about this page and what these speeds are. So these speeds are quite obvious. So these are the flat retract speeds. So 136, slat retract is 172, and clean, which is I think clean means gear up, except gear up and slats and flaps up is 187. Now I don't use those a lot, but actually, no, what are those speeds? You know what? Forget everything I just said. I don't know that. Again, I don't know much about the aircraft. I just know. I know my bits. Right, so transition altitude. Now, this is not really important unless you're flying on that sim, but in real life, basically, everywhere is at a different pressure. So some areas have higher pressure, some areas have lower pressure. Now, if you're, let's say, flying from Gatwick, and the pressure is 1020 millibars, let's say at 10,000 feet, your altimeter reads 10,000 feet. That's what your altimeter reads. Let's say you're flying north to Manchester where there's a lower pressure, say there's 1,000 millibars. You could have a 300 or 400 height difference, which at low altitudes, if you're in low visibility, it could be catastrophic. This is why they use transition altitudes. Now, transition altitudes, it's more important actually in the air, making sure all the right aircraft are at the same heights, because basically you get airways in the air, kind of like motorways or highways in America, as you would say, and they have 1,000-foot height between them. So if your altimeters sit wrong, it's not set to standard pressure of 1,013 millibars. Your aircraft could be 400 or 500 feet closer to the aircraft than you thought you were, and then you'll start getting in trouble with ATC. So it's usually above 6,000 in Europe. I think it's universally 6,000, where you switch from your surface pressure to your standard pressure of 1,013 millibars. Now, 1,013 millibars is often referred to as Q and H, and it's quasi-mean sea level pressure, I believe. But at the minute, we are on QFE, which is quasi-field pressure. I think that's what it stands for. And that is today. You can find it out in our active sky. 1022 hectopascals. So just enter that there. Click close, and that's good. So we got a right pressure for our airfield. So, what's the next step? And next up is entering the information into our autopilot panel. Now this has got a name, I've forgotten it, but source pilot panel's fine. So if I just come closer here, we can see we've got our altitude and we've got our vertical speed, we've got our latitude, or heading, and we've got our speed. Those are the main ones. There's stuff on the side which you can worry about later. But what we're going to do now is we're going to set the altitude to our cruising altitude. Now, if you're flying on VATSIM, you'd already set it to the transition altitude, and then you'll get clearance from ATC to climb up to cruising altitude. But we just set it straight to cruising. So right click to switch to 1,000 feet mode, and that lets us go up lets us increase altitude at 1,000 feet per rotate, basically. So we're going to go up to 36,000 feet. Left click, and that will automatically, once we put left click, decide our V speeds. If you want to, say, go up at a rate of 1,800 feet per minute, we can just use this automatically to go up at 1,800 feet per minute. But we'll just leave it. We'll leave I think they still have VNAV. Yeah, I think it's still called VNAV on the Aerosoft Airbus, to leave it, which is called vertical navigation, standing for vertical navigation. So, we've still got GSX passengers boarding, I think. I'm not too sure. Or are we done? Let's see. There's no baggage guys there, so I'll assume we're all finished. I'll assume we can get ready for pushback and departure. So, no, I don't think I've missed anything. And yeah, okay, everything is good here. So I'll explain how pushback and departure is going to work. So, engine start in the Aerosoft Airbus is very automated, very easy, and it only takes a few clicks. Before we want to start the engines, we're going to make sure we've got a few things. First, we're going to make sure our parking brake is set. Secondly, we're going to get the APU turned on. Right, to start the APU, we click Master, On, then we click Start. It's that simple. And we can watch the APU rise up if we go to APU on our lower ECAM, and we can watch it start up. So first of all, we're going to get EGT spiking really high, and then we're going to get M1, and then there's a message on the right that's going to flap open. There we go. And once that's at 100%, we'll be able to turn on bleed air, which will provide our engine with compressed air to start and ignite with the fuel on board. So once that's at 100% M1, we are good. EGT is rising, and so once the generator starts up, that's when we can turn on bleed air. And 100%, yeah, bleed air pressure is rising, that's good, and APU is available. That means we can switch on bleed air. And before we're going to release our parking brakes, we're going to get nav and logo lights switched to mode 2. We're going to get our beacon lights on. Now, beacon lights basically indicate that we're going to be starting engines soon. We have engines running. So whenever you have the engines running, or you're about to start the engines, you have beacon lights on. That would warn the ground crew. And all the other lights we can leave for the minute. So let's see how they're doing out there. Are you going to be pushing BMAT today? I'm going to release my parking brake, see what happens. Because sometimes GSX likes it to stop. Oh yeah, I forgot and got to tax the GPU. Ground services, detach GPU, remove wheel chocks. There you go. And now you can push back. Release parking brakes. There we go. Push back to the right today. Now if you've got GSX, it's all simple. If you haven't got GSX, you can just taxi out the gate if you want, or just slow yourself back, whatever you want to do basically. Right, engine start. So to start your engines, once you make sure your APU is running and your APU bleed is on, you can come down to the engine start panel, just down here, select engine start mode. to ignition/start by right clicking and start engine 2. Now we're going to be monitoring N1 is rising, that's good, and N2 is rising, and once engine 2 is available you can start engine 1. So it should only take a minute max for the engines to start, and it's very simple process. It's just a flick of a switch. Like most things in the Aerosoft Airbus, you'll find that it is very automated. It's like the 777. It's kind of like the 737, but it is very clean. It's a very clean looking cockpit. It's a very easy, I'd almost say intuitive cockpit to use. Right, set is available now, so we can start engine 1, and once these both engines are started, what you're going to see is, as I told you about the gen lights up here, is gen lights. These faults are going to turn off, so you can see gen 2 faults turned off because we are now getting generator power from engine 2, and fuel is being pumped into engine 2. Now those lights will still soon come off once engine 1 is available and started up fully. So GSX is saying in position, please set parking brakes, so we will, and we can confirm a good engine start, as both engine 1 and 2 are starting up very well. So what we'd say now is engine 2 stabilised, and engine 1 is just coming up on stabilisation, and engine 1 is available now, so engine 1 is stabilised. And what we're going to do now is switch engine start mode to engine start norm. We're going to come up here, make sure our generator lights, fault lights have turned off. Once they're off, that means now the aircraft is using power provided from the engines, not the APU. Now we can turn off APU bleed, and we can shut down the APU. Now we can turn on our strobe lights, turn on our taxi lights, and we can get configured for takeoff. To do that, now we're going to set flaps 1. We are going to arm the spoilers, and we are going to switch our weather radar on. So it's not really important at the minute because we haven't got any significant weather, but I leave it on just in case. So system, we're going to switch to weather system 1. There are 2 weather systems equipped on the Airbus, and we're going to put predictive wind shear to auto, as if you get wind shear you've got to go around if you're on approach. It can be very dangerous and your speed can drop very quickly, especially on a sharp wind gradient, so you've got to be aware of that if you have a realistically weather simulated engine like Active Sky. So we got the weather systems turned on now, we've got flaps set, and we've got spoilers armed. We're going to come up to here, and we're going to see, well, first the APU shutting down, and we're going to click takeoff configuration. Now this is our checklist basically that I follow if I've forgotten anything to do before takeoff. So, and the last thing we're going to do is set auto brakes to max. Cabin check, we don't have to worry about that. The stewardess will just say over, or also say cabin check. I think we'll say normal or something after about a minute or so. But stewardesses they're simulated to just check the cabin. And I'm pretty sure we are good to go. So let's release parking brake and taxiing. So taxiing the Aerosoft Airbus is very simple. You need very little thrust, but what you will find, the first 25% to 30% will be quite jolty. So I've already increased my throttle here, but it's given it about a second or two, and then it's jolted up. So you've got to be wary of that, and you only need a little bit of thrust. Now these clouds look pretty weird. Don't know if they're normal. I think they are. But what I'm going to do is just follow this taxiway down to runway 28, and that should all be good. So it's just light movements, and when you're taxiing the Aerosoft Airbus, you're going to want the centre line to be just to the right of this button here, this warning light, sorry, here, and that that shows, look, you're basically dead on. I should be turning right now. You're basically dead on the taxi line, and you're not going either way. So that's when you take off. That's where, especially, you want to line it up to get straight down the strip. And when you're coming in for landing, you're gonna be wanting to land. You're gonna want to. Your brain is gonna tell to aim. No, your eyes are gonna tell you to aim left. To aim slightly left the wrong way. If your brain should tell you to land slightly right to get that picture right, because of your first landings, you're always be landing to the left. But you just need to put more right in than you think, just to get that aircraft on the centre line. So, taxiing down here to Alicante, and everything is gone smooth, and cabin is set to ready. There it says, cabin ready. And I don't know what's up in my weather radar at the minute. Just switching train on, fix anything. Is there an issue with active sky? Real time mode. Says it's raining. I don't see any rain. Interesting. I'll just close the debug. Refresh weather. There you go. And that's all good. Okay. Yeah, those clouds look better. Oh, and it's raining. Right, this is a perfect time to show you guys Aerosoft Airbus is. Why do I keep saying that? Airbus's wiper system. So, right click to slow. Right click to slow here, and I try to make them timed. So there you go. That's timed, and it's already stopped raining. So that, oh no, it's starting raining again. So that was a nice little feature Airbus has included. Aerosoft has included in their cockpit. It's called True Glass, and it provides realistic rain effects. So we're turning on to the runway now. Now we would obviously get ATC clearances, but we're just going to go straight ahead today, and we're going to get our lights turned on. So you're going to turn on your landing lights, runway turn off lights. Those lights can set to takeoff. Wing lights are on, and that's all your lights you're going to need. And the last thing you're going to turn on is TCAS, and then you're going to start the clock. So TCAS is down in the bottom right where your squawk code is, that panel there, and you're going to select it from standby to on, and you're going to select it from standby to TA/RO, so you can see oncoming traffic. Switch your wipers off, stop raining, very quick shower, and you're going to start the clock. Okay, start raining again, by clicking chrono, and then you're going to click start the clock here. So, sorry, there you go, start the clock. Right, so you're on the runway now, you're facing dead down, and how to do the takeoff. So takeoff, again, is easy. Select 40% M1, and wait for the engines to spoil up. Once the engines have spoiled up, after about 2 seconds, increase to man flex. So slowly push your throttles forward until you see man flex appear on the primary flight display, which it has, and you're accelerating down the runway. So speed is now alive, and at 80 knots you're going to call 80 knots cross-checked. 80 knots cross-checked. Sorry, what? I meant 100. 100 knots cross-checked. And we're accelerating to V1 speed now. V1. I'm going to rotate about 2 to 3 degrees back on the climb, on the pitch up, slowly rotating into the air, and going to aim for about 15 degrees. V2, positive rate, gear up. Positive rate is when you're established at your initial climb pitch, which is 15 degrees, and we're on our climb out. So something's going on the weather radar, so I'm just going to switch to oh my god. Alright, is it selected the wrong one? Anyway, never mind. So I selected the wrong one way. That was me. That was That was weird. Anyway, so we're at thrust reduction altitude of 1,500 now. Let's pull the throttle back a tad, and you get to throttle climb. Now, we're going to turn on to our waypoints here. All we've got to do is select autopilot 1 on, and it will turn you towards your waypoint. So it's turning us round. I'm just turn the wipers off, and we're going to do our after takeoff checklist. So, we can put flaps up, we can turn off our landing lights, and we can set nose lights to off. We're going to turn off lights to off, and wing lights to off. And we are basically going to be taking up to cruise altitude and followed along our flight plan, like so. So, that was part 1, how to fly the Aerosoft Airbus, and in part 2 I'll show you descent and landing. So I hope you enjoyed, hope I didn't complicate things too much, and I'll see you in part 2.